Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this record here. It is the debut album by a band called the Blue Nile. It is a walk across the rooftops. So I've just been doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album and the band, then showing you my vinyl copy of it, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So as I said, this was their debut album released on the 30th of April in 1984. The band had formed in 1981 when childhood friends, singer and guitarist Paul Buchanan and bassist Robert Bell met their keyboard player Paul Moore while studying at the University of Glasgow. They formed a band and went through a few different names, including McIntyre and Night by Night, before selecting the name the Blue Nile. They gathered funds for the band through performing gigs in and around the Glasgow area, and eventually saved up enough money to record and release their first single, a song called I Love This Life, on their own label called Peppermint Records. The whole musical style and sound came about due to the band's limited musical abilities. Paul Buchanan wasn't a great guitarist, so their music naturally took a more atmospheric and electronic approach. Now, a common misconception about the making of this album is that the band was approached by hi-fi company Linn Records to make an album to sort of showcase their equipment. The band denies that this was the case, and instead says that their engineer, a guy called Callum Malcolm, who had a lot of Linn equipment in his Tinseltown studios. He invited some people over from Linn to allow them to test their speakers, and the song he played for them was a demo of Tinseltown In The Rain. The people from Linn, who were also at this time setting up a record label, were so impressed that they offered the Blue Nile a recording contract. So with the record company's offer, they set about recording the album, which took 5 months at Castle Sound Studios, which is in Pennycook, just near Edinburgh. They eventually got round to actually signing the contract 9 months after the initial offer was made for it. Now, upon release in April of 1984, the album garnered critical acclaim for its sparse yet detailed recording and Buchanan's emotive vocals. They actually embrace the video age as well, of the 80s, making music videos for the two singles. However, apart from that, they didn't really engage in any real promotion, so the album failed to take off commercially and only reached number 80 on the UK charts. Side note, it did do quite well in New Zealand, according to Wikipedia, reaching number 24 there, which was quite good for the album. Down the years, the band would gain more of a cult following, but were championed by various musical superstars, including Peter Gabriel and U2. The album would be eventually reissued in a remastered form with bonus tracks in 2012. So I will show you my vinyl copy of it. This is a original UK pressing of it. I don't think there's been any other pressing of this. To be honest with you, it's never had a vinyl repress. So yeah, it is a little bit difficult to get this album. Quite plain design. I do really like this photo on the front of it though. Really nice. And there's no fancy in it with it. No printed lyrics or anything. It's just on Linn Records, the first record on this label here, label here. I'm not sure what other bands they eventually signed, but yeah, this is probably the most notable release on Linn. So I wish I go over each of the album songs. So there is only 7 tracks on here, although they are all fairly lengthy, ranging between 5 to 7 minutes in length. So yeah, I will just go over each song and score them out of 10.
I walk across the rooftop.
So it kicks off with the title track, which is called A Walk Across the Rooftops, which is just a pure pop symphony, this song here. I just love the way the track builds up very gradually. The bass part is really engaging, Robert Bell's doing a great job, really creative and emotive bass playing on it. Again, you've got a really beautiful, heartfelt vocal like from like Paul Buchanan. It's got these sort of like quite like minimalistic like lyrics on it, like which are probably like more effective like at conveying like the emotion like off the track, like compared to like lyrics like which are probably like sort of like we're just like fully packed like with ideas. It's just a sort of like a very like primitive like sort of like song this, and like yeah, just a brilliant like recording like off it as well. So yeah, great way to kick off the album there. An easy 10 out of 10 for me.
Tinseltown in the rain. Oh, man,
Next up is probably the most popular one like on the album. I mean, it's certainly not one of like the greatest hits like off like the 80s like by like any means, like, but like it is a really great song. It is Tinseltown in the Rain, which is a more sort of like upbeat and like funky song. Like which lyrically like is very much like a love song like to Glasgow, like where like the band like we're from. Again, Buchanan's vocals really carry the song along. It's just a great recording. This was selected as the second single from the album, and it done rather poorly, like only reaching number 87 like in like the UK. I mean, like it deserves so much better because it is such a wonderful song, like, but again it's very far removed like from like sort of like commercial like chart music. It's just too it's sort of like too good like sort of like to be like a sort of like a throwaway like hit single kind of thing. So yeah, it just really works well like on this album. Again, another really stunning song. Next track up now, which closes side one, could well be my favourite on the album. It's called From Rags to Riches, and this is just another absolutely perfect song. I really like the production on this one. It's sort of like it starts like with this sort of very like primitive like synthesizer bed like which a song like is like built upon. Lyrically, it's about a sort of like a rebirth, like with like mentions like of like people all leaving the squalor, like traveling like to somewhere like new and like fresh, and like also it's about like taking like pleasures like from like the simple things in life, like the chorus line like is I'm in love with a feeling, a wild sky. So yeah, it's just a lovely song. Again, Buchanan's vocal is just so unique. He's got such a lovely voice, like I really like this song. Like again, like the length of it as well as it's got room to breathe like and grow this song, like which it does like in like the outro, like descended like into this sort of like more like sort of like ambient like atmospheric piece, which I think yeah, it's just stunning, like not dated like one bit. So yeah, that one would get another 10 out of 10 from me. The next one would also get a 10 out of 10, and it's Open Side 2, and it's called Stay, which is another one of the more upbeat songs like on the album. Again, you've got the really sort of like propulsive and urgent bass part like on it. And lyrically, it's really just like a yearning love song, like about sort of like the distractions of life, like and like how like they can get in the way like of like a like relationship. And like yeah, it is again just another classic song. I think a good choice out for the first single like from the record. Definitely, I would say the most commercial song like on the album. But again, didn't do great singles wise. Only reached number 97 on the UK singles chart. So yeah, like quite like appalling like there. Like but yeah, Stay, another really great song. Like yeah, to kick off side 2.
Easter parade.
Now this for me is kind of where the album does start to trickle off a little bit. Like we're kind of past like for me like sort of like the first 4 sort of like flawless songs. Like this is where like it starts to get like not bad like or like anything. Like I mean like the quality like is still there. It's just a little bit less engaging for me. So the first one is Easter Parade, which is probably my least favorite one like on the album. It's a more sort of like slower and piano based song. Kind of like lyrically, I've read it's about sort of like how one can feel alone, like even like in like even in like a big like crowd of people. It's just really not a favourite of mine. It sort of teeters too much like on like the dreary side like for me, like but it is nicely placed like on the record coming after the much more like upbeat Stay. So yeah, Easter Parade would get a 7 out of 10 for that one.
Heatwave. Why is
Next next one up now is called Heatwave, and I also really love this song. Like, this is definitely like a grower like off a song like for me. Just another really beautiful, very really like evocative track. I like the percussion like sort of like backing track like on it, like with these kind of like bells like sort of like going on like on it. Like it's a sort of like a lot of like the samples like on this like were like achieved that sort of like through using tapes like rather than like sort of like modern samplers like which like we know today. Like really like a sort of very painstaking process like they had to go through. Like, that's probably like one reason that why it took like 5 months like to record like this thing like non-stop. Personally for me it's not quite as strong as the first four, but it is still got a great melody like on it. Like I really like the chorus like on it. It's just maybe like a little bit dragged out a little bit towards the end, but still a great song though, so I will give that one a 9 out of 10. And then we close the album with a song called Automobile Noise, which is another slower song, another nice sort of like soft, sedate track to finish, which paints a picture like of like, sort of like a busy city like at night, like with like these cars like whizzing around. For me, again, it's not quite to the same sort of breathtaking standard like as the first couple of songs, but it is a really nice sort of like suitable like closing track. Again, there's a certain like sort of like coldness like to like this song, like and like sort of like detachment to it, like which like I like sort of like really like connect with. So yeah, like Automobile Noise finishes the album really well. We'll give that one an 8 out of 10. So overall, this album would score 91%. So I think this is a absolutely brilliant, incredible album, like from a really underrated, like underappreciated band. Things I really like about it, I think, are the fact that it's really nicely restrained, like sort of like performance and that. Like they're not forcing that in the music like out like on it. Like it's just like so like beautifully performed. Like it really makes it pack more like off like a emotional punch. Like rather than a gift like maybe like overproduced it and like sort of like tried too hard like sort of thing. Probably like I would say like it's one of these records like which does take a bit of time to grow on you, sort of like it might not grab you like on like first listen, like if like you may be expecting something a bit more sort of like upbeat, like sort of like indie rock like sort of thing. It's nothing like that, like but it is a really like rewarding listen like when like you get like into like the mood like for this album. I really love like sort of like again like sort of like the minimalism like in like the compositions as well. Like I mean like some of these tracks like are quite repetitive like in some ways, but that really just helps like sort of like give a lot of space like to the album and like really makes it like pack, like I said, like a lot of like emotional punch. Also just on that point, it's just a really sort of like effortless album. Like again like so like they again like the three of them were able to make such great sort of like beautiful music. Like even though none of the three members like were trained musicians, they were sort of like through their sort of like musical naivety, they really created like something truly remarkable here. The Blue Nile like would like go on to have like a career like in music like lasting like some like 20 years. Like whether they were very sort of slow like with their releases. Like they took a further 6 years to follow this album up with the equally good Hats, like and like these sort of like very like long gaps like and like sort of limited like promotion like would come to really characterize their career. But yeah, I think this is probably like the finest record like I would say here. So yeah, I'll Walk Across the Rooftops. Definitely check it out like if like you haven't heard of it, like you really like don't know like what you're missing here. So yeah, that's been my review of the Blue Nile. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
Walk in the head.